What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment on these videos. It really helps the channel a lot. If you want to check out all the other videos in the playlist, you can click on the icon up here or check the link in the description. New videos come out every Sunday. And if you would like to donate to the channel and support, there are donation links in the description. Special thanks to Jordan Bailey and Dog Lover JB for your donations. I really appreciate it. So we're continuing our discussion on fairway woods. Last week we talked about the foundations, ball setup, grip, and so on. This week we're going to continue that discussion. First, I'd like to talk about when to use the 3-wood, which is particularly important. Normally I'm using a 3-wood or a fairway wood, 5-wood, when I'm trying to reach a long par 4 in 2 shots, or I'm trying to reach a par 5 in 2 shots, or when my driver is too long to use off the tee. Maybe it's a sharp dog leg and my driver would hit me through the fairway, or maybe there are bunkers or other hazards, water hazards in play that my driver will likely put me into, and I may want to come a little bit short of that. Other cases are I might use it off the tee when I'm playing a short par 4 that is very tight, very narrow, and I don't want to be too wayward with the driver, so I would hit a smaller club, a 3-wood or a 5-wood off the tee. For some of you, the 3-wood may be your go-to club off of the tee, and this is okay. I hope after watching the driver series, though, you try the driver out and can hit it a little better. But when choosing to hit the 3-wood or the 5-wood from the fairway, or from any other lie that's not off the tee, the first thing to take into consideration is the lie, how the ball is sitting on the ground. This is the most important part about choosing to hit that particular club. If the lie is compromised whatsoever, I do not recommend hitting the 3-wood or the 5-wood. We've already talked about how hitting these clubs are low percentage, low probability of hitting it well. And when the lie is compromised, it makes it that much more difficult to get a good solid contact, a good solid strike on the ball. So I don't recommend taking the 3-wood or the fairway woods off of lies that are bad or less than good. If the ball is in the fairway, it's okay to take that club. If it's in the rough and it's sitting up, it's okay. But if it's in the rough and it's sitting down in the rough any, it's going to be very difficult to get that wood to get a good contact on the ball. You're going to be much better taking a higher lofted iron and getting it out in the rough and putting it back in play than trying to take and hit the miraculous shot out of a bad lie. So that needs to be stated. Oftentimes I see a lot of players that I play with pulling these fairway woods out as if they're some kind of rescue weapon, and they're really not. It is true that they do glide through the rough a little bit better than an iron, but they have such little loft. You need to understand that it is a low percentage shot, and you really want to take these clubs when you have a good lie and you can get the club onto the ball with no grass in between it, and when you feel confident hitting that particular club on that particular lie. The lie is not just the way that the ball is sitting on the ground, but also the slope of the ground. So if you're on a severe slope, again, you want to think twice about taking the fairway wood. If you don't feel confident taking the fairway wood off of whatever lie that you're hitting, I would recommend just not hitting that shot. Hit a more comfortable shot that you can get back into play. When you are hitting the fairway woods onto the green or close to the green, towards the green, planning to get it onto the green, you are going to have to plan for some roll. When you hit a fairway wood, it's not going to be descending into the green with the kind of backspin that a short iron or a wedge will. So you're going to have to play for it to land short and kind of bounce up. So let's say that you can fly your fairway wood 200 yards and the pin is 200 yards away. You're not expected to be able to take that club and carry it 200 yards and it stop on a dime. You're going to have to play it short and let it roll up. So do plan for some kind of bounce forward, some kind of roll forward off of the fairway woods, because generally they will be bouncing forward a lot more than an approach iron will. Now we're going to talk briefly about teeing up the balls using your fairway woods off of the tee. When you tee the ball up with a fairway wood, you want to keep the tee level quite low. We don't necessarily want to hit this up into the air as much as we do a driver. It already has enough loft, and very often these fairway woods are designed with very shallow faces. So if you tee it up too much, it might be likely that you scoop under the ball and pop it up. So you want to keep the tee height rather low where the ball is just above the ground and not sitting way up in the air. You want to give yourself the leeway where you don't have to exactly brush the ground when you do hit it, but you don't want to have it so high that in case you go too low that you pop it up. So you want to keep the tee height, maybe just this far above the ground, maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch above the ground, but not much more than that. Typically you want to have it just above the grass level to give you a little bit of room for error so you can catch the ball cleanly. So I know we've talked before on the driver, the video on impact zone, about understanding how the club is moving through the impact area, through a path from here to here, how the face is reacting, especially through impact. And that's going to involve getting your grip such that the club will release and stay fairly square through impact. Kind of like a big putt, we want this face of this fairway wood and the longer clubs to remain square for a very long time. The longer we can keep the face square, the higher the probability is that we're going to be able to hit it straighter. So when hitting this fairway wood, when I'm hitting it and I'm showing you from this angle, I'm not trying to turn the club over like this with my arms. I don't want that much face rotation as a part of my swing. We have talked about this before, that we hinge the club, but I can hinge the club without actually opening the club. I can just hinge it backwards, and then when I unhinge it such that the shaft passes under me, and then I can turn over after impact. But I really want to keep this face traveling relatively square to the target line for as long as possible. So be wary of having too much rotation into your swing and trying to keep this thing going straight by keeping the face square. So if you see here, when I move this club back, I want to release it such that the face releases like this through impact and not like this, turning over with the hands. And this happens by me pulling the hinge, pulling the lever with my left hand as I go, and allowing the shaft to come under my hand like this and then over. Not trying to turn it over like that and close the face down. We're just trying to keep this thing traveling as square through impact for as long as possible to try to send the ball off straight. So it's helpful to take some swings just through the impact and see how you're going to release the club such that the club doesn't close down too fast. You see there how the shaft is passing me on the inside of my hands there, like this. That's how I'm going to release this club, like that, and not so much like this. Not so much turning over, because that would have a lot of rotation in the face and cause me to really pull, draw it, and or hook it. So we really want to try to keep this thing traveling straight by allowing the shaft to release and then come under and keeping the face straight. The end of the butt of the club to come under your arms so that the face is staying straight for a very long time through impact. Once it passes, then you can turn over and finish your golf swing. Also, don't forget, or rather remember, that we release the club. Once you go back and hinge, you release the club by decelerating your momentum or your rotation of your upper body, the arms, the hands, so that the club can pass you at impact. But when it passes you, remember that you don't want it to flip over too much, but trying to keep the face square. So remember, we are stopping at impact to release, but when we release, we want that to be square at impact and go like this and not release straight over the top like that. So you'll notice that the swing that we have for our driver that we've gone over is going to be nearly identical to the swing that we're going to use for our fairway woods, which is very similar to the long irons, which is also similar to the short irons. We're not trying to change our swing so much. We change the way that we approach that particular shot by changing the ball position And our posture, whether we're using a lot of spinal tilt or very little, depending on the lie, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. So we're not trying to develop many different swings, but different setups for different clubs that allow us a high chance of hitting the ball well. When we grab the longer clubs, 3-wood, 5-wood, maybe even a 7-wood, and a driver, these long clubs, long irons, especially the fairway woods, we have a tendency to want to hit it really far, because we're usually taking it from very far away from the hole and we need to hit it kind of far. And we have the tendency to be tense when we hit the club, to tighten our forearms, tighten our grip, and not to be relaxed. Remember that a good, solid, fluid golf motion comes from relaxation, not tension. You can be strong and relaxed at the same time, but you really need to be relaxed. Focus on relaxation so that the club can be fluid as you swing it and not so tight. Tightness will result in poor shots and poor consistency. Be relaxed, be loose, and think fluid so that this club is flowing. In other words, when you're approaching your shot with your fairway woods, don't think about hitting it hard. Think about hitting it well. Allow the length of the club and the loft and the design of the club to provide the distance that you're going to get out of it by hitting it solidly. When you hit it well, the ball will travel. You don't have to try to put any extra on the club, on your swing, on your downswing. Just hit your regular swing and allow the club and its design to take the ball the distance that you need it to go. So don't swing too hard. It's a grave error that many people make of trying to get too much out of it. Just your regular swing is fine. That's plenty. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I like to answer the questions and see what you're thinking. If you have any comments also, leave those there. Be sure to stick around for next week. You can check out 2 of my videos here and subscribe here. See you later.